The last time I saw Kang Jiwon, I was bleeding on the floor of his penthouse and he was telling his men to remove me like I was furniture he had grown tired of. That was 3 years ago. Tonight, he walked into my restaurant. My name is Seo Hyun-woo, and I am not afraid of him anymore. I tell myself that every morning when I press both palms flat against my lower back and breathe through the ache that starts before sunrise. Every morning when I pull on my chef's whites, tie the apron strings twice around my middle, because there is no hiding what is underneath anymore, and walk into the kitchen of Bada before the first delivery truck even turns onto the street. Bada. It means ocean in Korean. I named it that because the ocean does not ask permission to exist. It does not apologize for its depth or its noise or the way it refuses to be still. I needed that reminder daily. The restaurant sits on the quiet end of Fulton Street in the Koreatown pocket of Houston, Texas. Tucked between a dry cleaner with a broken sign and a bubble tea shop run by a 70-year-old woman named Mrs. O, who brings me scorched rice tea every Thursday and never asks why I flinch when black SUVs idle too long outside. Houston was not my first choice. It was my safest one. Far enough from New York. Far enough from him. Close enough to a Korean community that I could breathe without feeling like I had erased myself entirely. I built this place with what was left of me after I ran. 2 years, for months, and 11 days of early mornings. Burned hands, borrowed money, and a body that kept changing in ways I had not planned for. My sous chef Baek Jinho thinks I am a widower. My landlord Mr. Cheon thinks I am a graduate student between programs. The older Korean women at the market 3 blocks over think I am the quietest, most stubborn young man they have ever met, always buying too many persimmons, always with dark circles under his eyes. None of them are entirely wrong. I am 26 years old. I am an Omega, and I am 7 months pregnant with the child of the most dangerous alpha in the northeastern United States. I chose this. Every terrifying, hard, and beautiful thing that came after. I would choose it all again. What I did not choose was tonight. Thursday dinner service runs like a controlled storm inside my kitchen. Every surface is moving. Jinho is calling orders from the line. The 2 line cooks, Park Sung-jae and a college kid everyone calls Dory, are plating the braised short rib Sam with the focused silence I trained into them over 6 months. The smell of doenjang and charred scallion and sesame oil sits thick and warm in the air. This is the smell of safety to me now. This is what I built to replace everything I lost. I am standing at the pass reviewing a ticket when Jinho materializes at my shoulder. Hyen Wussai. His voice carries that careful quality it gets before bad news. Table 7. Walk-in party. 6 men. Seat them. They came in 3 black cars. This is Houston, Jinho. Everyone drives big cars. They asked if the head chef was Korean. A pause lands between us like a stone dropped into still water. By name. My hand goes still against the counter. It is the smallest thing. A pause no longer than a single breath. But Jinho has worked beside me for 14 months and he notices. He notices the way the ladle in my hand lowers just slightly. He notices the half-second it takes me to smooth my face back into something calm. Seat them, I say. Push the galbi gym tonight and send out extra banchan. He hesitates. You sure? I am always sure. He leaves. I stand completely still for 4 seconds. Then I press one hand low against my stomach where the baby has been restless all evening, rolling and shifting like he already senses something I have not yet confirmed. Settle, I think at him. It is nothing. It is a Thursday. No one knows us here. But my hands are already moving, already calculating the distance to the back exit. I did not survive Kang Jiwon's world by being slow. From the narrow pass window I have a sliver of the dining room. I use it carefully, standing just far enough back that the light from the kitchen does not catch my face. 6 men. All broad. All dark clothing. All carrying that particular stillness that does not come from peace but from years of discipline and threat. I know that stillness the way other people know the smell of rain before it falls. 5 of them take their seats. The 6th stands at the head of the table with his back to me, reading the room the way a man reads a space he is deciding whether to control or destroy. Tall, charcoal coat, hair shorter than I remember. It is not him, I tell myself. You are tired. You are 7 months along and your feet ache and you are projecting fear onto a stranger. Then he turns. And every molecule of air leaves my lungs in one silent, devastating exhale. Kang Jiwon. In my restaurant. Under the pendant lights, I strung myself on a rainy Tuesday. Looking exactly like the version of him that still visits me at 3 in the morning when my defenses are down. His jaw is sharper. There is a scar above his left brow that was not there before. But his eyes are identical. Dark, still, and precise as a blade. They move across the dining room with slow, deliberate calm. Across the bar. Across the other tables. Across the painting on the far wall I finished in a single sleepless night 6 months ago. And then they stop. Not on me. Not yet. But close. Close enough that my entire body goes cold from the inside out. Sung Jae touches my arm. Chef, you okay? I do not answer him. Because in the dining room, Kang Jiwon has gone completely, unnaturally still. His head lifts. Slowly. The way a man lifts his head when he catches a scent he was not expecting. A scent he thought was buried 3 years and 1,500 miles behind him. His eyes begin to move again. Slower this time. Deliberate. Searching. He cannot smell me from there, I think. The kitchen scent blockers. The ventilation. The ginger and the sesame and the smoke. He cannot. But even as I think it, his gaze drifts toward the pass window. Toward me. I step back into the shadow of the kitchen 1 second before his eyes land on the exact spot where I was standing. 1 second. If I had not moved, I think, pressing my back against the cold steel shelving, one hand over my mouth and the other pressed flat against the side of my stomach, he would have seen me. My baby moves. One slow, deliberate roll. Like a question. I know. I think back at him. Eyes closed, heart slamming. I know. I have 2 choices and about 45 seconds to make them. I can walk out the back door right now, leave Jinho in charge, and disappear into the Houston night the same way I disappeared from New York 3 years ago. Or I can stay, stand in my kitchen, hold my ground in the place I built with my own burned and bleeding hands. Kang Jiwon took everything from me once. He is not taking this. But when the kitchen door swings open 30 seconds later and Jinho steps through with an expression I have never seen on his face before, I realize the choice was never mine to make. Hainwesasai, Jinho says, voice low and strange. The man at table 7. He is not ordering food. I wait. He says he will not leave, Jinho finishes, until he speaks to the chef personally. I stare at Jinho for exactly 3 seconds. Then I laugh. Comes out quiet and a little unhinged. The kind of laugh that lives right next to panic but refuses to become it. Sung Jae glances over from the line. Dory pretends he is not listening while very obviously listening. I press one hand to my mouth, collect myself, and look back at Jinho with the most unbothered expression I have ever constructed in my life. Tell him the chef is busy. Jinho blinks. He said he would wait. Then he can wait. We have a full dining room and a backed-up pass. Tell him the tasting menu is 45 minutes minimum, and if he is not eating, his table turns in 20. Jinho opens his mouth. Jinho. I say his name the way I say it when a dish comes back under-seasoned. Quiet. Final. I need you on that pass. Not in here explaining to me why a customer who is not ordering food deserves more of my attention than the ones who are. He reads my face for one long moment. Then he nods, turns, and pushes back through the kitchen door. I exhale through my nose. Slow and controlled. Good, I think. That was good. That was completely normal and unbothered and good. My hands are shaking. I press them flat against the steel edge of the prep counter and focus on the cold solidity of it beneath my palms. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. The baby shifts low and heavy, and I breathe through that too. This is fine. I have handled worse than this. I handled worse than this at 22 years old with no money, no plan, and a plus sign on a test I had taken sitting on the floor of a gas station bathroom outside of Philadelphia. I handled that. I can handle a man sitting at a table in my dining room. A man who does not know I am here. A man who cannot know I am here. Does he know? The thought moves through me like cold water. Is this a coincidence, or did he find me? I run the logic fast and clean the way I always do when fear tries to become something louder. Jiwon does not do coincidences. Every room he enters, every city he moves through, every table he sits at is calculated 3 moves in advance. But Houston was clean. I was careful. New documents, new address, new phone, new name on the business license. Bada is registered under my mother's maiden name. There is no thread between Seo Hyun-woo of Houston, Texas, and the Omega who once lived on the 43rd floor of the Kang Tower in Manhattan. No thread he should have been able to pull. Should have. I pick up the ladle. I go back to work. Because the best thing I can do right now, the only sane and strategic thing, is act like a chef running a dinner service and not like a man whose entire carefully constructed life is sitting 40 feet away in a charcoal coat. 7 minutes pass. They are the longest 7 minutes of my recent life, which is saying something because I once spent 4 hours in labor-adjacent back pain before my midwife told me it was just round ligament strain and to drink more water. Jinho comes back through the door. He is still there. I know. He ordered tea. Good. Charge him full price. Hien Wussai. Jinho steps closer and drops his voice. One of his men came to the pass and asked for you again. He used your full name. Your real full name. The ladle stops moving. There it is. I set the ladle down with the kind of careful gentleness I usually reserve for very fragile things. Then I untie my apron, fold it over the edge of the counter, and smooth both hands down the front of my chef's whites. How do I look? I ask Jinho. He stares at me. What? My face. Do I look calm? He studies me with visible concern. You look terrifying. Perfect. I move toward the kitchen door. Hold the pass. Push the short rib on tables 3 and 9. And Jinho. I pause with one hand on the door. If I am not back in 10 minutes, call Mrs. O next door and tell her I need her to take Seo Lai for the night. Jinho's face does something complicated. That is not a reassuring thing to say before walking into your own dining room. No, I agree. It is not. The dining room hits me with warmth and noise and the low amber glow of the pendant lights as I push through the door. Several of my regulars look up. Mrs. Park at table 2 raises her hand in greeting. I nod back without breaking stride because if I slow down for even 4 seconds I will turn around and go back through that door and spend the rest of my life hiding in my own kitchen. I am not doing that. I cross the dining room with my chin level and my back straight and every ounce of the man I built myself into over the last 3 years holding my spine upright. Table 7 comes into view. 5 men register my approach with the quiet alertness of people trained to notice movement. They straighten fractionally. The one nearest the wall reaches instinctively toward his jacket before the man across from him gives a small head shake. Kang Jiwon does not move at all. He is sitting now, both hands around a ceramic cup of tea I recognize as the barley blend I sourced from a small farm in Gyeonggi-do. His coat is folded over the back of his chair. He is wearing a dark shirt, no tie, sleeves pushed to his forearms the way he always wore them when he was thinking hard about something. His eyes are on the table. I stop 3 feet away and say, in the most professionally pleasant voice I own, I was told someone at this table wanted to speak to the chef. He goes completely still. Not the stillness of surprise. The stillness of a man who has just heard something that short-circuits every prepared response he walked in with. He looks up, and for the first time in 3 years, Kang Jiwon's eyes find mine across a distance I can actually measure. His face does not change. Not exactly, but something behind it does. Something shifts in the dark of his eyes the way light shifts under deep water. Slow and total and impossible to stop once it starts. His gaze drops, just for a second. One involuntary sweep down and back up. He sees. I watch him see. And I stand there in my chef's whites with my chin level and my heart detonating quietly inside my chest, and I wait for whatever he is about to do with the information that the Omega he threw away 3 years ago is standing in front of him. 7 months pregnant, and absolutely not interested in falling apart. The silence between us lasts 4 full seconds. Then Kang Jiwon sets down his tea, very slowly, and says in a voice I have not heard in 3 years, and still somehow recognize in every nerve ending I own, Hyun-woo. Just my name. Nothing else. like it costs him something to say it out loud. Good, I think. It should. I let that thought sit behind my eyes like a warm coal and I smile at him. Not a big smile. Not a nervous one. The calm, professional, slightly distant smile I give health inspectors and difficult suppliers and the occasional customer who thinks being wealthy means being entitled to extra portions. The smile that says I am in charge of this space and everything inside it, including this conversation. Mr. Kang, I say, because using his name like a title and not like something precious is the first move I have available to me and I am taking it. I was told you asked for me specifically. Is there something wrong with the food? The question lands in the air between us and just sits there. One of his men makes a sound. Not quite a cough. Not quite a laugh. The man to Jiwon's left, broad-shouldered with a jaw like a cabinet door, stares at a fixed point on the wall with the focused intensity of someone trying very hard not to react. Jiwon himself looks at me for a long, unreadable moment. Sit down, he says. I appreciate the invitation, I say pleasantly. But I have a full kitchen and a dinner service running. If there is no issue with the food, I will let you get back to your evening. I turn to go. Hyun-woo. His voice does not rise. It never does. That was always the most unsettling thing about Kang Jiwon. He never needed volume to make a room listen. He just said things in that low, final way and the air rearranged itself around him accordingly. I stop. Not because he told me to, because I decide to. There is a difference and I need that difference tonight more than I need almost anything else. I turn back around. You have 30 seconds, I say. I have hollandaise on the stove. He stands up. I had forgotten how tall he was. Or maybe I had remembered it precisely and had spent 2 years quietly editing the memory down to a more manageable size. He is taller than the pendant lights seem to account for. He is taller than the careful architecture of my composure is fully prepared for at close range. He steps around the table and stops 2 feet in front of me, and the first thing that hits me, before his face and before his expression and before anything logical, is his scent. Pine resin and something warmer underneath. Cedar. Rain-soaked stone. The exact combination that once meant safety to the most animal part of my brain and now means danger to every single other part. My body does not get the memo I sent it 3 years ago. It never did. I breathe through my mouth. Subtle. Practiced. He does not need to know that his proximity is currently running a small riot through my nervous system. His eyes move over my face first, reading it the way he always read everything, efficiently and without mercy. Then they drop again, briefly, to the unmistakable curve beneath my chef's whites. Then back up. How long? He says quietly. Were you planning to stand in that kitchen before coming out? About 45 more minutes, I say. You were faster than I expected. Something shifts in his jaw, tightens. You knew I was here. I run a restaurant, Mr. Kang. I know everything that happens inside it. And you stayed. It is my restaurant, I say. Where exactly would you like me to go? He is quiet for a moment. The dining room around us has developed that particular charged hush of people pretending very hard not to listen while listening with every available sense. Mrs. Park at table 2 has stopped eating entirely. The young couple near the window are staring into their phones with the frozen focus of people who have absolutely stopped reading whatever is on their screens. Jiwon takes one breath. We need to talk. We are talking. Privately. I do not have a private setting available on a Thursday evening service. I tilt my head just slightly. You are welcome to make a reservation. I have availability on Tuesday between 2 and 4 if you would like to discuss catering. The man with the cabinet door jaw makes that sound again. Jiwon cuts him a look so precise the man goes completely silent. Then Jiwon looks back at me and something in his expression does something I was not prepared for. It does not harden. It does not go cold the way it used to when he was about to end a conversation by ending the person having it with him. It opens. Just slightly. Just enough. Please, he says. One word. Quiet as a bruise. I hate how much it costs him to say it. I hate that I can hear the cost. I hate that 3 years and 1,500 miles and every single wall I have constructed between who I was and who I am now does not stop me from hearing that word the way it was meant. Do not, I tell myself. Do not let one word from this man undo 2 years of architecture. I look at him for 3 full seconds. I have a back office, I say finally. You have 15 minutes. Your men stay here. He nods once. And Mr. Kang. I hold his gaze steady and even and completely unbothered. If you make a single person in my dining room uncomfortable before I get back, I will have you removed. I do not care who you are in New York. In here you are a customer. Are we clear? The silence that follows is approximately 3 heartbeats long. Clear, he says. I lead him through the side corridor toward the back office without looking behind me to confirm he is following. I know he is following. I can feel the displaced air of him and smell the cedar and rain of his scent tracking 2 steps behind me, and it takes every gram of focus I own to keep my pace even and unhurried. The back office is small. 1 desk, 1 chair, a filing cabinet, and a corkboard covered in supplier invoices and a crayon drawing of what Seolai insists is a bowl of jajangmyeon but looks more like a very confident scribble in black and blue. I do not move the drawing. I sit behind the desk because it is my desk, and I sit first because whoever sits first in a room with Kang Jiwon owns it, and I learned that lesson at 22 and I have not forgotten it. He steps inside. He looks at the corkboard. He looks at the crayon drawing for 2 full seconds. I watch his face with the careful attention of someone waiting for a structure to either hold or crack. He looks at me. How old? He says. His voice has changed. Something in the bottom register of it has changed entirely. 15 minutes, Mr. Kang. I say calmly. Clock started at the door. His jaw tightens. Hyun-woo. 2 years and 3 months. I say. Because there is no point in the lie and because I want him to sit with that number. I want him to feel the full weight of every month inside it. His name is Kang Seonu. I call him Seolai. He is with my neighbor tonight and he is healthy and he is loved, and before you say anything else I need you to understand that every decision I made was mine. Not a mistake. Not a crisis. Mine. The silence in the office is a completely different animal from the silence in the dining room. That one was charged. This one is something heavier. Something that has gravity. Jiwon stands completely still in the middle of my small back office, looking like a man who walked into a room expecting one kind of impact and received an entirely different one. His hands, hanging at his sides, are not entirely steady. Good, I think again. But this time it does not feel as warm. His hands, hanging at his sides, are not entirely steady. I notice that. I file it away somewhere behind my sternum where I keep things I am not ready to examine yet, and I keep my face exactly where it is. Neutral. Present. Unhurried. Jiwon takes 1 breath that is slightly longer than the ones before it. Then he pulls out the chair across from my desk, the one I keep for supplier meetings and the occasional tax conversation with my accountant Mr. Yoon, and he sits down in it like a man who needs a moment before he trusts his own legs. That is new. Kang Jiwon sitting like he needs steadying is not something I have a memory of. I have memories of him standing at floor-to-ceiling windows 43 floors above Manhattan with a phone pressed to his ear, and his entire body radiating the particular energy of a man who believes the city below him exists primarily as scenery. I have memories of him in boardrooms and black cars and the kind of silence that precedes orders. I do not have memories of him sitting in a second-hand chair in a small office in Houston looking like the ground shifted under him. I find, to my own mild irritation, that I do not entirely hate seeing it. You had him, Jiwon says. His voice is low and careful, the way you carry something you are afraid of dropping. Alone. I had him with the support of a very good midwife, a doula named Mrs. Beck who made me the best seaweed soup I have ever tasted, and approximately 4 hours of breathing exercises that I do not recommend to anyone. I fold my hands on the desk. But yes. Alone in the way you mean. Yes. His jaw moves. Why did you not tell me? And there it is. I look at him across the desk and I take my time with my answer because this question deserves the real one, not the easy one. Because the last time I saw you, I say, you told your head of security to escort me out of your building and to ensure I did not return. You used the word ensure. I remember it specifically because it was the same word you used the week before when you were talking about a shipping contract. I keep my voice even. Conversational, almost. So I made sure. The office holds the silence between us like a container holding something volatile. Jiwon looks at the desk surface. His hands rest on his knees. That small unsteadiness I noticed is still there, a barely visible tension in his fingers, and I watch it without comment because naming it out loud would be a kindness I have not decided to extend yet. That was about something else, he says finally. I know what it was about. You did not give me a chance to explain. You did not give me a reason to wait for one. I tilt my head. Mr. Kang, I did not come to your office tonight. You came to mine. If you drove from New York to Houston to explain what happened 3 years ago, I genuinely respect the commitment, but I need you to understand that I am not the same person who lived in your building and rearranged his entire existence around your schedule. I run a restaurant. I have a 2-year-old. I have a full service happening 40 feet away and hollandaise that I was not joking about. Something crosses his face that I cannot immediately name. The hollandaise broke 20 minutes ago, he says quietly. Your sous chef handled it. I stare at him. Were you listening to my kitchen? My men monitor ambient sound in any space I enter. Standard protocol. Your men were eavesdropping on my line cooks. It is not eavesdropping. It is security assessment. It is absolutely eavesdropping. I point at him across the desk. That is a violation of my staff's privacy, and I want it stopped immediately. For the first time tonight, something in his expression moves in a direction that is almost human. The line of his mouth shifts by approximately 2 millimeters. It is already stopped, he says. Because I asked or because you decided? A pause. Both. I look at him for a moment. Then I lean back in my chair as much as my current center of gravity permits, which is not very much, and I look at the ceiling and I think about the fact that I am sitting in my own office across from the man who broke something fundamental in me 3 years ago, and I am arguing with him about kitchen surveillance protocols, and somehow I am not crying, and somehow I am not screaming, and somehow I am just here, present and sharp and completely myself. You built this, I think. You built yourself into someone who can sit in this room. Do not forget that. A knock lands on the office door. Jinho's voice comes through it, careful and professional. Chef, table 4 is asking for you. Mrs. Choi says the doenjang jjigae is too salty. It is not too salty, I say without raising my voice. Tell Mrs. Choi it is traditionally seasoned and offer her a complimentary barley tea. If she still wants it adjusted, adjust it. A beat. Got it. Footsteps retreat. I look back at Jiwon. He is watching me with an expression I cannot fully read, which is not unusual for him, but there is a quality to it tonight that is different from every version of his attention I stored in memory. It is not the assessing look he used to give acquisitions and contracts. It is not the cold consideration he turned on people who had disappointed him. It is something quieter and more exposed, and it sits on his face like something he does not know he is wearing. You built this place yourself, he says. It is not quite a question. I did. How? Carefully, I say, and with a lot of help from people who did not require anything from me except showing up. He receives that the way he receives most things I say tonight without deflecting it, which is also new. The Jiwon I knew 3 years ago absorbed information and returned strategy. This one seems to be doing something different with what I give him. Something that looks closer to sitting with it. I want to meet him, he says. The air in the room changes temperature. No, I say. Hyun-woo. No. I say it the same way both times. Calm and absolute, like a door closing on a room where a fire is trying to start. Not tonight. Not like this. You do not get to drive into my city on a Thursday and ask to meet my son in the same breath as asking me why I did not call you. That is not how this works. Then how does it work? I have not decided yet, I say honestly. And until I do, the answer is no. He looks at me, long and direct and without the deflection or the strategy. Just looking, the way people look when they are trying to memorize something they are afraid of losing again. You are different, he says quietly. Yes, I agree. Stronger. I was always strong, I say. You just were not paying attention. The silence that follows is the first one tonight that does not feel like a battle. Feels like something else. Something I do not have a clean word for yet because naming it feels like more generosity than I am ready to offer. Jiwon looks down at his hands. Then he looks back up. I am staying in Houston, he says. My stomach drops approximately 3 floors. For how long? I say. My voice stays level. I am very proud of my voice. As long as it takes. As long as what takes. He meets my eyes and the answer he gives me is not the strategic non-answer I expect. It is 4 words, plain and unguarded. And they land in the center of my chest like a stone dropped into still water with rings I am going to be feeling for the rest of the night. Oh 9. To earn this back. I open my mouth. And then the office window, the small one above the filing cabinet that faces the alley, fills suddenly with the blue and red pulse of emergency lights, and every alarm inside my body fires at once for an entirely different reason. Jiwon is on his feet before I finish turning my head. That is not about you, I say quickly. But he is already moving toward the window and his entire body has shifted back into that other mode, the one I remember, sharp and assessing and ready, and he looks out and goes still. Hyun-woo, he says. His voice has changed again. There is a fire in the building next door. I am out of my chair before he finishes the sentence. Mrs. O's bubble tea shop. Mrs. O who has Seolai tonight. I move around the desk so fast that my hip catches the corner of it and the pain registers somewhere distant and unimportant. I am already through the office door and into the corridor before Jiwon finishes saying my name behind me, and I do not stop for him. I do not stop for anything. The dining room is in the early stages of polite panic. Several customers are standing. Jinho is at the front window with his phone out. The blue and red light from outside pulses through the glass and paints everything in the room in alternating cold colors. I push through the front door and the night air hits me, sharp with November cold and something acrid underneath it. The bubble tea shop is not fully on fire. Not yet. The smoke is coming from the back, thick and dark, curling up past Mrs. O's hand-painted sign with its cheerful yellow lettering. 2 fire trucks are already angled on the street. A small crowd has gathered on the opposite sidewalk. I scan it in one sweep. Mrs. O is standing near the fire truck in her house slippers and her good cardigan, the green one she wears when she is expecting company, and she is talking to a firefighter with the focused energy of a woman giving a full structural report. She is fine. She is absolutely fine, and she is probably telling that firefighter more about the building's electrical history than he asked for. But I do not see Seolai. Mrs. O. I cross the street at a pace that my midwife would describe as inadvisable for someone at 30 weeks. Mrs. O, where is he? She turns and her face does the thing it does when she sees me moving too fast. The particular concerned frown of a woman who has appointed herself my unofficial grandmother. Hyunwaya. Slow down, you will fall. Where is Seolai? Inside with Mr. Yoon from the dry cleaner. I asked him to watch the baby while I spoke to these men. He is fine. He is eating a rice cracker and he has not even noticed the lights. She grabs my arm with both hands. Breathe. The fire is in the back storeroom. Electrical. No one is hurt. The relief that moves through me is so complete and so physical that I have to stand still for a moment and just let it pass through me. I press one hand over my eyes. I breathe. He is fine. He is eating a rice cracker. He is fine. Hyunwoo SSI. Jinho appears at my shoulder, slightly out of breath. Behind him, at a distance that is close enough to be present but far enough to be deliberate, Jiwon stands on the sidewalk with 2 of his men flanking him and his eyes on me. I ignore him. I focus on Mrs. O. Can I get him? I ask her. Mr. Yoon is just inside the front of the dry cleaner, not near the smoke. Go, go. She pats my arm and then looks past me at the small formation of large men standing on her street. Her eyes narrow with the particular assessment of a 70-year-old Korean woman who has seen enough of the world to recognize a certain type of man on sight. Hyunwaya. Who are those people? No one important, I say, and I go get my son. The dry cleaner smells like pressed fabric and vinyl and the faint chemical sweetness of cleaning solvent. Mr. Yoon, a quiet man in his 60s who communicates primarily in nods, is sitting on a low stool near the front counter with Seolai balanced on his knee, and Seolai is doing what Seolai does in the presence of patient elderly men, which is talking at full volume about something that sounds like it involves a dog, a bus, and a considerable amount of rice. He looks up when I come through the door and his face splits open into the expression that rearranges everything inside my chest every single time without fail. Big eyes. Jiwon's eyes, dark and direct and several degrees more expressive than his father has ever allowed his own to be. My nose. My mouth. The combination should not work as well as it does, but it does. It works completely. And he is the most beautiful person I have ever seen, and I built him, and sometimes that fact still lands on me like something brand new. Appa. He holds both arms up with the absolute confidence of someone who has never once been left reaching. I pick him up. He is heavier every week, and I am increasingly less equipped to carry him, but I do it anyway because he asked and because I need to hold him right now more than I need ergonomic sensibility. He grabs a fistful of my chef's whites and leans his head against my shoulder and keeps talking about the dog and the bus without missing a beat. I close my eyes for exactly 2 seconds. There. Everything accounted for. Kitchen running. Sun located. Crisis contained. I thank Mr. Yoon with a bow. He nods twice, which from him is practically a speech. I carry Seolai back out through the door into the November air. I should have thought about the sight lines. I was thinking about my son and my kitchen and my blood pressure, and I did not fully calculate that stepping out of the dry cleaner carrying a 2-year-old puts me directly in the line of sight of the man standing 15 feet away on the sidewalk. Jiwon sees us the moment I come through the door. I feel it before I see it. The particular quality of attention that shifts in the air when someone's entire focus narrows to a single point. I look up and he is already looking, and there is nothing strategic or composed about his face in this moment. There is nothing there that I recognize from the man who ran the Kang organization across 3 states and never once let a reaction cross his face that he had not approved first. He looks like someone just reached into his chest and rearranged something without asking. Seolai, who has the social awareness of his age and the curiosity of someone who inherited it from both sides, notices the cluster of large men on the sidewalk and stops talking about the dog. He turns his head. He looks at Jiwon with the direct, unblinking assessment that toddlers and very confident adults share. Jiwon looks back at him. The silence between them, across 15 feet of Houston sidewalk in the blue and red pulse of emergency lights, is the loudest thing I have heard all night. Appa, Seolai says, still looking at Jiwon. Who dat? And I think, with a calm that surprises even me, here we go. Someone from a long time ago, I say. My voice comes out steady. I am genuinely impressed with myself. Seolai considers this with the gravity of someone processing significant information. Then he looks at me, then back at Jiwon. Then he points at him with one small finger and says, with complete authority, "Big!" One of Jiwon's men makes a sound. Jiwon does not, but his throat moves. A single swallow barely visible. I shift Seolai higher on my hip and look at Jiwon across the distance between us, and I say, quietly enough that only he can hear it over the noise of the street, "Now you have seen him." Jiwon's eyes move from Seolai to me. The expression on his face is something I have never seen him wear before. Not in 2 years of living in his orbit and learning every surface of him. It is not guilt exactly. It is not grief exactly. It is something that sits between them and underneath them, and it is raw in a way that makes me want to look away. I do not look away. "I did not know," he says. Low. Direct. No strategy in it at all. "I know you did not," I say. "That was the point." His jaw tightens. "Why?" And here is the place where I could give him the short answer, the clean one, the version that keeps everything at a professional distance and lets me walk back into my restaurant and close the door on this night. I could say, "Because you threw me out," and leave it there. But Seolai is warm and solid against my chest, and the emergency lights are still pulsing, and Jiwon is standing in front of me looking like a man who has been holding his breath for 3 years without knowing it. And I am tired. Not weak. Tired. There is a difference, and tonight I know exactly which one it is. "Because I went to your office the morning after," I say. "Not to beg. Not to cause a scene. I went because I had just found out, and I thought, whatever happened between us, you deserve to know." I keep my voice level. Quiet. "Your head of security told me you had left instructions that I was not to be given access under any circumstances. He said it very politely. He offered to call me a car." Something moves through Jiwon's face. I did not leave those instructions, he says. The night goes very still around me. I know that now, I say carefully. His eyes sharpen. What do you mean you know that now? I look at him for a long moment. Seolai has gone quiet against my shoulder, picking at the button on my chef's whites with focused concentration, and the fire crew behind us is running a line and Mrs. O is still talking to someone and the whole ordinary urgent world is continuing around us while this specific thing, hangs in the air between Jiwon and me like a thread pulled taut. For months ago, I say, I received a letter. No return address. Houston postmark. I watch his face. It was from a man named Cha Min-soo. Jiwon goes completely still. And I know from the quality of that stillness, the specific texture of it, that he recognizes the name. He was your head of security, I say. He was, Jiwon says, past tense, deliberate. He wrote that he had been given instructions by someone inside your organization to turn away any Omega presenting at your offices in that window. Not just me. Any Omega. I pause. He said he thought I should know. He did not say why he decided to tell me after 2 years. He did not sign the letter with anything I could verify. I looked directly at him. But I believed it. The silence that follows is not the same as any of the silences before it. This one has weight, history, the specific gravity of 2 years of a story I thought I understood revealing a shape I did not see coming. Jiwon's hands at his sides are no longer almost unsteady. They are completely still in the way things go still before they break. Who gave those instructions? I say. Not loudly, not with heat, just directly, because I have been carrying this question for 4 months and the man who might have the answer is standing right in front of me. Jiwon looks at me. His voice, when it comes, is so controlled it is almost frightening. My brother, he says. Brother, he says. I stand with that for a moment. Kang Jiwon has one brother, Kang Jizuk, younger by 3 years, sharper by ambition, and possessed of the particular brand of charm that makes people trust him approximately 4 minutes before they should. I met him twice during the 2 years I spent inside Jiwon's world. Both times he smiled at me with every tooth he had and both times something in the back of my neck prickled in a way I filed away and never fully examined. I should have examined it. Your brother, I repeat. Yes. Your brother gave instructions to your own security team to block any Omega from reaching you. Yes. And you did not know. Jiwon looks at me with an expression so stripped of its usual architecture that it almost does not look like his face. I did not know, he says. Until 6 weeks ago. I shift Seolai on my hip. He has abandoned the button and is now examining a loose thread on my collar with the concentration of a very small textile engineer. I let him. I need something ordinary to hold on to while I process what Jiwon just said because the math of it is landing in waves and each wave is colder than the one before it. 6 weeks ago. Which means for 2 years he did not know. For 2 years the version of events he was working from had no Omega showing up at his office. No attempt at contact. Just silence. Just me vanished. What happened 6 weeks ago? I ask. Min-soo came to me directly. His voice is even but the evenness costs him visibly. He resigned first. Then he told me everything. Why did he wait 2 years? Because Jizuk had enough on him to end his career and he knew it. A pause. When Jizuk lost his position in the organization 4 months ago, that leverage disappeared. I look at the sidewalk for a moment. Then back up. Is that why Min-soo wrote to me? Because the leverage was gone. I believe so. How did Jizuk know about me? I ask. Specifically, how did he know to target me? Something moves through Jiwon's jaw. Controlled. Deliberate. Because I told him. The words come out flat and self-directed, like a verdict. 3 weeks before everything happened. I told him you were different. That I was considering changing certain things. He stops. I did not know what he would do with that information. The night air is cold against my face and I am standing on a Houston sidewalk holding my son and listening to the architecture of the worst 2 years of my life rearrange itself into a shape I did not build and could not have predicted, and I feel, very distantly, something that might eventually become something other than anger. Not yet, but eventually. Come inside, I hear myself say. Jinho has handled the dining room with the competence I pay him for. The fire excitement has resolved into the kind of collective neighborhood energy that actually improves a dinner service. Everyone's slightly flushed and talkative and ordering dessert. Mrs. O has been installed at the small corner table I keep for staff meals with a pot of barley tea and the specific authority of a woman who has just survived something and intends to be recognized for it. I carry Seolai through the side corridor to my office and settle him on the small floor mat I keep behind the desk with his board books and the stuffed dog he calls Bung for reasons he has never explained and I have never questioned. He arranges himself with the focused contentment of a child who knows his environment and trusts it completely, and I watch him for exactly 3 seconds before I straighten up and turn back to the door. Jiwon is standing in the corridor. He stopped at the office doorway. He is looking at Seolai on the floor mat with an expression that I have no reference point for because I have never seen him look at anything the way he is looking at his son right now. Like something he did not know he was missing until he saw the exact shape of it. "You can come in," I say quietly. He does not bite. He has, however, been known to hand people things without warning and expect a strong reaction. So prepare yourself. Jiwon steps inside. He moves carefully, which is almost funny given his general relationship with spaces, and he lowers himself to sit on the floor near the mat with the slightly formal quality of a man who is not sure of the protocol but is committed to attempting it. Seolai looks up from his board book. He looks at Jiwon. He picks up Bung and holds him out. Jiwon takes the stuffed dog with both hands. "Bung," Seolai informs him seriously. "Bung," Jiwon says back with the same gravity. Seolai nods, satisfied, and goes back to his book. I sit behind the desk and I press both palms flat against the wood surface and I breathe because something about that exchange, 12 seconds of a toddler and his father negotiating over a stuffed dog on my office floor, has done something to the inside of my chest that I was not adequately prepared for. Do not, I tell myself. You are allowed to feel this and still be careful. Those are not opposites. "Tell me about him," Jiwon says. He is still holding Bung. He does not appear to realize it. "What do you want to know?" "Everything." A pause. "Anything you will give me." I look at my son on his mat. I look at the man sitting 3 feet from him on my office floor holding a stuffed dog with both hands like it is something that matters. And I make a decision that is not forgiveness and is not trust and is not any of the large clean things that come at the end of stories. It is smaller than that. It is just the decision to give him something real. "He was born on a Tuesday," I say. "April." It rained the whole day. He came out furious and completely silent, like he was angry about the rain specifically and had decided not to dignify it with noise. I pause. The midwife said she had never seen a newborn look so personally offended. Something in Jiwon's face shifts, almost imperceptibly, almost a smile. "He walked at 11 months. I continue. "He skipped crawling almost entirely. Just pulled himself up one afternoon and walked across the kitchen like he had a meeting to get to." I watch Seolai turn a page. He likes jjajangmyeon and fruit and any vehicle larger than a car. He is afraid of the sound the smoke alarm makes but not of strangers, which is a combination I find professionally alarming. I look at Jiwon. "He has your eyes." Jiwon is quiet for a moment. "I can see that," he says. "They do the same thing yours do," I say, "where they go very still before you have decided something." He does it right before he does something I have told him not to do. This time the shift in Jiwon's face is unmistakable. It is small and contained and it is gone in under a second, but I saw it and I am keeping it somewhere. "I am sorry," Jiwon says. The words land in the room without preamble or strategy, and they are so plainly meant that I do not know immediately what to do with them. "For which part?" I ask, not unkindly. "For not protecting you from my brother." His voice is low and even. "For the fact that you ran because you had no reason to believe staying was safe. For 2 years of this." He gestures briefly at the room, at the filing cabinet and the corkboard and the supplier invoices and the crayon drawing of the jjajangmyeon. "Not because it is not good. It is clearly good. Because you built it alone when you should not have had to." I look at him for a long time. "That is a lot to apologize for in one breath," I say finally. "I know. I am not ready to tell you it is enough. I know that too. The office is quiet except for Seolai turning pages and the distant sound of the dinner service filtering through the wall, and somewhere outside Mrs. O's voice rising in what sounds like a second detailed account of the fire to a new audience. Jiwon reaches over and sets Bong carefully back on the mat beside Seolai. Seolai picks him up without looking, tucks him under one arm, and keeps reading. Something in the room settles. Not resolved. Not repaired. But settled the way a fracture settles when the pressure around it is finally released. Still broken, but no longer actively breaking. You said you are staying in Houston, I say. Yes. You cannot come to this restaurant every night. I was not planning to come every night. Good. I fold my hands on the desk. Tuesday and Thursday evenings, the kitchen closes at 10. If you want to learn who he is, those are the hours I can offer you. In this office, with me present. I hold his gaze. This is not reconciliation. This is not a door opening. This is a 2-year-old who deserves to know his father exists, and a father who deserves to know his son. That is all I am offering right now. Jiwon looks at me with those still, dark eyes. Tuesday and Thursday, he says. Yes, I will be here. I nod once. Then I look at my son on the floor mat, round-cheeked and absorbed and completely unbothered by the seismic activity happening 3 feet above his head, and I feel something move through me. Not warmth exactly. Not yet. Something quieter. Something that feels like the first tentative possibility of warmth, standing at the edge of itself, not yet sure if it is safe to come inside. I do not reach for it, but I do not send it away either. That quiet, almost warmth lasts exactly 4 days. Tuesday comes and Jiwon arrives at 9:53, 7 minutes before closing, with no men and no black cars and nothing except a paper bag from the Korean bakery 2 streets over that I did not know he had found. He sets it on my desk without comment. Seolai investigates it with the thoroughness of a customs official and extracts a honey butter roll with the triumphant energy of someone who has located exactly what they came for. Jiwon sits on the floor again. No hesitation this time. They do the bung handoff. It is apparently a ritual now. I sit behind my desk and I watch them and I eat a honey butter roll and I tell myself this is controlled and boundaried and fine. Thursday he brings barley tea in proper ceramic travel cups from a Korean goods shop I have walked past 100 times and never gone into. He remembered I mentioned sourcing barley tea from Gyeonggi-do. He found the closest equivalent in Houston and he brought it in the right kind of cup. Not paper, not plastic, ceramic, the way it is supposed to be drunk. I do not comment on it, but I drink the whole cup. The following Tuesday Seolai falls asleep on the mat 20 minutes in, which has never once stopped him from talking before, so it is a genuine surprise, and Jiwon and I sit in the quiet office with my sleeping son between us and we talk. Not about the past. Not about Jizuk or Minsu or the 2 years of missing architecture. We talk about Seolai. About the way he mispronounces certain words and has strong opinions about which bowl his food goes in. About the fact that he refuses to sleep without Bong but will occasionally exile Bong to the corner of the mat as punishment for unspecified offenses. Jiwon listens the way he does everything, completely and without interruption. At one point he says, quietly, "He laughs like you." And I look at him across the sleeping form of our son and I think, with a clarity that frightens me a little, I am in trouble. The trouble arrives in full on the following Thursday. It arrives wearing a tailored coat and carrying the specific energy of a man who has never once in his life not gotten what he decided he wanted. It arrives through my front door at 8:45 in the evening, not 9:50, not at closing, in the middle of a service, and it is not Jiwon. It is Kang Jiwon. I know him the moment he walks in because the dining room does the same thing it did 2 Thursdays ago, that particular atmospheric shift that happens when a certain kind of alpha enters a space. But where Jiwon's presence makes a room go quiet and attentive, Jizuk's makes it go slightly uneasy, like a pressure change before a storm. He is 3 years younger than his brother and it shows in the way it always showed, in a looseness, a surface ease that Jiwon never bothered with. Taller than I remember. He is alone, which is either deliberate or a lie. He sees me at the pass immediately. He smiles. That smile. I remember that smile. Both teeth and calculation, nothing genuine behind it, the kind of smile you manufacture when you have already decided the outcome of a room. I hand the ticket I am holding to Jinho without looking away from the dining room, and I say, completely calmly, I need you on the pass for 20 minutes. Jinho follows my eyeline. His entire posture changes. Should I call someone? Not yet, I say. Not yet. I meet Jizuk at the host stand because I will not let him get further into my restaurant than this. He looks at me the way he looked at me the 2 times we met 3 years ago, like I am a variable he has already solved. Hyen Wussai. His Korean is warm and familiar, the informal register that assumes intimacy neither of us have. You look well, considering. Considering what? I say pleasantly. He glances briefly and pointedly at my stomach. Considering everything, he says. Thank you, I say, matching his warmth exactly and meaning none of it. We are fully seated tonight, but I can add you to the wait list. The Galbi gym is excellent. I recommend it. His smile does not waver. I am not here for the food. No, I agree. You are not. He steps slightly closer. Not aggressively. Conversationally. The way someone steps closer when they want the next thing they say to stay between the two of you. I know my brother has been coming here. I wanted to have a conversation with you before things progress further than they should. I look at him. Before things progress further than they should. I repeat. Jiwon has responsibilities, Jizuk says. His voice is smooth and even and entirely sincere sounding, and every single hair on the back of my neck is standing up. The organization. Certain alliances that are sensitive right now. An Omega appearing with a child after 2 years of silence, at this particular moment, creates complications that I do not think you fully understand. An Omega appearing, I say. I mean no offense. Of course not. He tilts his head. I am trying to protect my brother. Are you? I say. Is that what you were doing 2 years ago as well? When you gave instructions to his security team. Something moves through his face. Fast and quickly controlled, but I see it. He did not expect me to name it directly. He expected, I think, the version of me that existed 3 years ago. Younger, less certain, more likely to be managed. He recalibrates visibly. That situation was more complicated than it appears. It appears quite simple from where I am standing. I say. You identified me as a threat to your position in your brother's organization, and you removed me. Then you came here tonight to assess whether I need to be removed again. I keep my voice at the same pleasant conversational level I used to discuss menu changes. I want you to hear me clearly, Jizuk SSI. I did not build this place to be a problem for your brother. I built it to build something of my own. What happens between Jiwon and his son is between them. It has nothing to do with your organization or your alliances or your very thoughtful concern for complications. His smile has gone somewhere different now. Still present but thinner. You are very confident, he says. Yes, I say simply. That can be a liability. The air between us goes very still. I look at him and I feel something cold move through me that is not fear. I know what fear feels like in my body, and this is not it. This is clarity. The specific cold clarity of understanding exactly who is standing in front of me and exactly what they are willing to do. Is that a threat? I say. He opens his mouth. The front door opens behind him. Jiwon walks in. The 3 seconds that follow are the kind that expand. Jiwon takes in the scene with one sweep, and I watch his face move through recognition and then something else, something harder and more interior, in the space of a single breath. His eyes go from his brother to me and back. Jizuk turns. His smile returns, fuller, easier, the performance version. Hyung, I thought I would check in on your new arrangements. Jiwon looks at him for a long moment. Then he looks at me. Are you all right? Perfectly fine, I say. Your brother was just leaving. Jizuk laughs. It is a good laugh. Practiced and warm and completely empty. I was just introducing myself properly. We never really had the chance before. Jizuk. Jiwon's voice is the low final version, and the dining room, close enough to feel the shift, goes slightly quieter. Go wait outside. Hyung. I only came to. Outside. No volume. No heat. Just the complete removal of any available alternative. Jizuk holds his brother's gaze for exactly 2 seconds. Then he looks at me one more time with an expression I catalog carefully because I intend to remember every detail of it. Then he buttons his coat, nods pleasantly, and walks out the front door. The room breathes again. Jiwon turns to me. The controlled surface of him is entirely present, but underneath it something is running hot. I can feel it from 3 feet away, the specific heat of an alpha who has just understood the full shape of something. What did he say to you? Jiwon asks. I look at him steadily. He said your responsibilities and alliances make my presence complicated. I pause. Then he said confidence can be a liability. Jiwon goes very still. He threatened you, he says. Flat. Absolute. He implied. I say carefully. Which is his preferred method, I think. Hyun Woo. His voice has dropped. I need you to tell me exactly what he said. Every word. And I look at Jiwon standing in my restaurant with that controlled heat running underneath his surface, and I think about 4 Tuesdays and 4 Thursdays and ceramic cups and honey butter rolls and bung handed over with great ceremony, and I think about how close I have let myself get to something I swore I would be careful about. And then I think about Jizuk's smile. And the word liability hanging in my dining room air. Jiwon. I say quietly. There is something you need to tell me first. His eyes sharpen. What? The alliances Jizuk mentioned. I hold his gaze. Is there someone else? Contracted bond. An arranged match. I keep my voice even because this question deserves a straight answer and I deserve to ask it without falling apart. Because if there is, I need to know that now. Before this goes any further. The silence is 4 full seconds long. And Jiwon's answer is not the one I expected. There was, he says. 6 months ago it was still in negotiation. The floor does not move. But something inside me does. And now, I say. I ended it, he says. The night Minsu told me everything. I look at him. You ended a contracted bond negotiation. Yes. Because of what Minsu told you. Because of you, he says. Plain and direct and without any architecture around it. Because of you and because of whatever you built here that I did not know about, and because I am not interested in any negotiation that is not this one. I breathe in slowly. I breathe out. You ended it 6 weeks ago. I say. Yes. And you did not think to mention this before sitting on my office floor 4 Tuesdays in a row. Something moves in his expression. I did not know how. I look at the ceiling. I look back at him. Kang Jiwon. I say. With a feeling that is somewhere between exhausted and completely unhinged. You run a criminal organization across 3 states, but you did not know how to mention that you canceled an engagement. It was not a formal engagement. That is not the part one am focused on right now. I know. I need you to leave, I say. Tonight. I need you to take your brother, wherever he is parked outside, and I need both of you to leave my street, and I need to finish my service and put my son to bed and think. Jiwon nods. Once. I will handle Jizuk. I know you will, I say. That is not what I am worried about. He looks at me for one long moment. What are you worried about? I look back at him and I give him the honest answer because I am too tired tonight for anything else. That I am already further into this than I decided I was going to be. I say. And I have not figured out yet whether that is brave or just foolish. He holds my gaze. He does not try to answer that, and I am grateful because any answer he gave right now would be wrong. He leaves. I stand at my host's stand and I watch the door close behind him and I press one hand flat against the side of my stomach where the baby is rolling again, restless and persistent, and I think, I know, I am working on it. I stand at that host stand for approximately 90 seconds after the door closes. Then I go back into my kitchen because my kitchen is the place where I know exactly who I am and exactly what I am doing, and right now I need both of those things with some urgency. Jinho looks up when I push through the door. He reads my face with the accuracy of 14 months of close proximity, and he hands me a spoon and points at the jjigae on the back burner without a single word. I taste it. I adjust the ganjang by half a measure. I hand the spoon back. Good? He asks. Good, I say. We finish the service. The last table clears at 10:40. Jinho and the line cooks break down the kitchen with the efficient rhythm of people who have done it hundreds of times, and I move through the closing checklist the way I always do, touching each station, checking each surface, confirming each lock. This is the part of the night I have always loved. The restaurant empty and clean and smelling of the day's work. All the noise settled into quiet, everything in its place. Tonight, it does not settle me the way it usually does. I carry Seolai out to my car at 11, buckled into his seat with Bung tucked under his arm, already deeply asleep in the way only small children and people with very clear consciences can manage. I drive the 12 minutes home to our apartment on the third floor of a building with a landlord who fixes things promptly and neighbors who do not ask questions and a view of a parking lot that I have genuinely come to find peaceful. I put Seolai in his bed. I stand in the doorway of his room for a moment looking at him in the nightlight glow, round-cheeked and certain of his safety in the absolute way he has always been certain of it, and I feel the full weight of tonight move through me at last. Not just Jizuk. Not just the implied threat and the word liability and the cold calculation behind that practiced smile. All of it. The 4 Tuesdays and 4 Thursdays. Ceramic teacups. Bung passed between large careful hands and small certain ones. The contracted bond that lasted until 6 weeks ago. The way Jiwon said, because of you, without any architecture around it. I go to my kitchen. I make myself barley tea in the good ceramic cup, the one Mrs. O gave me when I opened Bada, and I sit at my small kitchen table and I do what I have not allowed myself to do in 3 years. I think about all of it without managing it. The truth, the one I have been running past rather than through since the moment Jiwon walked into my restaurant, is this. I did not run from him because I stopped loving him. I ran because I had no evidence that he wanted me to stay and every available evidence that someone in his world had decided I should go. I ran because I was pregnant and alone, and the version of love I had was not enough to build a life on if it only existed on my side. I ran because I had Seolai to think about before I had myself to think about, and that calculus was simple and it kept me moving for 2 years and 4 months and 11 days. But here is the other truth, the one sitting quietly underneath the first one. I built Bada in Houston because it was safe. But I built it on Fulton Street in the Korean pocket of this city, because some part of me that I did not fully supervise wanted to remain findable. Not easily, not obviously, but findable by someone who knew me well enough and wanted it badly enough. I sit with that for a long time. You are in trouble, I told myself 4 Tuesdays ago. I was being generous with myself. I have been in trouble since the moment I did not go out the back door. Pick up my phone. I put it down. Pick it up again. I do not call Jiwon. What I do instead is open the contact I have labeled simply JS. And I look at it for a moment and then I type, I know you came to my restaurant tonight on behalf of yourself, not your brother. I know the difference. If you come near my son or my staff or my building again, I will make the kind of noise that is bad for sensitive alliances. Are we clear? 3 minutes pass. Then clearly, I put my phone face down on the table. Good. The knock on my apartment door comes at 7 the next morning, which is either brave or poorly calculated, and I have not decided which. I am in the kitchen feeding Seolai his morning rice porridge, and I am still in my sleep clothes, and my hair is doing something I have made peace with, and I am not remotely prepared for company. I look through the peephole. Jiwon. Alone. No coat this time. Dark sweater, dark trousers, the kind of clothes that cost significant money while looking like they did not. He is holding a paper bag. The bakery logo is on the side. He is looking at the door with the expression of a man who rehearsed something on the way here and has already decided the rehearsal was inadequate. I open the door. He looks at me. He looks at my sleep clothes and my unmanaged hair and the porridge spoon I am still holding, and something in his face does the thing it has been doing since the first night. That barely visible shift that is not quite a smile but is warmer than anything else I have seen from him. You found my apartment, I say. I found it 2 weeks ago, he says. I stare at him. 2 weeks ago. I wanted to know you were in a safe building. You have been knowing where I live for 2 weeks and you said nothing. I did not know how to mention it without sounding alarming. I offer. I was going to say over-concerned. Those are the same thing. I look at him for a moment. Then I step back from the door because the porridge is getting cold, and Seolai, has just said dada from his high chair in the kitchen with the casual authority of someone stating a fact about the weather, and I need a moment to process that word before I react to it in front of anyone. I process it while walking back to the kitchen. I process it by gripping the porridge spoon slightly harder than necessary. Jiwon follows me inside and stops in the kitchen doorway. Seolai looks at him from the high chair. Dada, he says again, confirmingly, as though Jiwon needed the repetition. Jiwon's face does something that I have no existing category for. It moves completely outside the architecture he maintains, and for approximately 4 seconds it is just a man's face, open and undone and present in a way that has no strategy in it at all. Hi, he says to Seolai, quietly, just that. Seolai holds out his porridge spoon. He wants you to feed him, I say, because apparently this is my life now. He does this with people he has decided he likes. Fair warning, he will hand you the spoon and then immediately have opinions about your technique. Jiwon crosses the kitchen, pulls out the chair beside the high chair, and sits down. He takes the spoon. Seolai watches him with critical attention. I lean against the counter and I watch both of them, and I think about brave versus foolish, and I think about what I said to Jiwon last night, that I was further into this than I decided I was going to be. I think about the fact that some decisions do not announce themselves as decisions. They accumulate, Tuesday after Thursday after Tuesday, until one morning you are standing in your own kitchen in your sleep clothes, watching the man who broke something fundamental in you 3 years ago feed your son porridge with the focused, careful attention of someone who understands that this is a privilege and not a right. That is not nothing. That is not something I can manage from a distance anymore. Jiwon, I say. He looks up. I need you to tell me something honestly, and I need you to take your time with it, because I am only asking once and the answer matters. I hold his gaze. Not what you want. Not what is strategically true. What is actually true. He sets the spoon down. Seolai makes a sound of professional disappointment. Jiwon picks it back up and keeps feeding him without looking away from me. Ask, he says. If none of this had happened, I say. If Minsu had never written that letter, if you had gone another 2 years without knowing, would you have come looking? The question sits in my kitchen with us. Jiwon is quiet for long enough that I know he is doing what I asked, taking his time, not reaching for the strategic answer. Yes, he says finally. How do you know? Because I never stopped. His voice is even and direct. I looked for 2 years, quietly, without telling anyone. Not because I thought you owed me anything. Because I needed to know you were all right. He looks at Seolai for a moment, then back at me. I did not know about him, but I looked for you. The kitchen is very quiet. Seolai, satisfied with the porridge situation, picks up Bong from the high chair tray, where he apparently spent the night, and holds him toward Jiwon. Jiwon takes him. I look at the ceiling. I look back down. You are going to have to be patient with me, I say. I am not going to move fast. I am not going to pretend 3 years did not happen or that trust is something you can rebuild in 4 Tuesdays. I have a restaurant and a 2-year-old and one currently the size of a very committed watermelon, and my sleep schedule is already a negotiation. Something in Jiwon's face goes warm in that barely visible way. I know, he says. I am serious. I will not be managed or handled or strategized. If something is happening, you tell me directly. If something is a problem, you tell me before it becomes a crisis in my dining room. Understood. And Jizuk is handled, he says quietly. Last night. Completely. I look at him. Completely how? He is no longer in a position to walk into any space you occupy uninvited. His voice is flat and final. That is all you need to know. I decide for now that it is. I push off the counter and cross the kitchen, and I hold out my hand for the porridge spoon because Seolai is giving me a look that suggests the service quality has declined. Jiwon hands it over. Our fingers overlap on the handle for approximately 2 seconds. Neither of us moves immediately. The contact is nothing. It is a porridge spoon in a kitchen at 7 in the morning. It is also the first time I have let him this close to something that belongs to both of us and not flinched. I take the spoon. I feed my son. And Jiwon sits beside us in my kitchen chair and does not try to make it more than it is, which is exactly the right thing to do, and I note that with the careful attention of someone who is learning, slowly and without rushing, what it means to trust a person with the real version of your life. Not brave or foolish, I think. Just true. I hold on to that word for the next 3 weeks like it is a fixed point in a room that keeps trying to tilt. True is Jiwon showing up every Tuesday and Thursday without fail, always at the agreed time, never pushing past the boundaries I set. True is Seolai running to the door on those evenings with the absolute confidence of a child who has decided something and sees no reason to revisit the decision. True is the way Jiwon learns my son, not in the way of someone performing fatherhood for an audience but in the quiet specific way of someone paying attention. He learns that Seolai will eat anything orange but refuses anything green unless it is edamame. He learns that Bung must be present at meals but must not be touched during meals. He learns that Seeli's pre-mischief face involves a particular stillness in the eyes that Jiwon recognizes with an immediacy that makes me press my lips together to keep from smiling. He also learns, because I tell him directly on the second Tuesday of the 3rd week, that the baby is due in 6 weeks. That his name will be Kang Jiwon. That I picked it alone, at 3 in the morning, sitting in the Bada kitchen after a long service, because it means to pioneer and to establish, and I liked the weight of that for a child who arrived into the world as an act of pure determination. Jiwon receives this information the way he has received everything I have given him recently. Completely and without deflection. He is quiet for a moment and then he says, "Can I be there?" I look at him across my desk. At the birth. Yes. That is a significant ask. I know. I think about it honestly. I think about Mrs. Beck the doula and my midwife Dr. Lim and the careful architecture of the support system I built for exactly this moment. I think about what it would mean to have him in that room. Not as a gesture or a symbol. As a person I have decided, slowly and without rushing, to let into the real version of my life. I will think about it, I say. He nods. He does not push. I think about it for 4 days. On Saturday morning, Seo lie asleep in the next room and the Houston sun coming through the kitchen window at the specific angle that makes the whole apartment feel like it is made of warm light. I pick up my phone and I type, "Yes, you can be there." His response takes 40 seconds, which for Kang Jiwon is practically instantaneous. "Thank you." 2 words. Plain and meant. I put my phone down and I drink my barley tea and I sit in my warm kitchen and I feel something settle in my chest that has not been settled in a very long time. Seojun arrives on a Sunday. Not a Tuesday. Not a Thursday. A Sunday at 4:17 in the morning when the city is quiet and the hospital room smells like antiseptic and the particular human warmth of a space where something important is happening. Dr. Lim is calm and efficient. Mrs. Beck talks me through every wave with the steady patience of someone who has done this many times and treats each one like the first. Jiwon stands where I tell him to stand, which is beside my head and not anywhere else, and he does not try to direct or manage or strategize anything. He holds my hand when I reach for it. He does not make it a declaration. He just lets his hand be there and lets me hold it as hard as I need to. I hold it very hard. At 4:17 Seojun announces himself to the world not with fury and silence like his brother, but with one enormous indignant cry that fills the room completely and then stops, like he made his point and considered it sufficient. Dr. Lim places him on my chest. He is small and warm and furious looking and absolutely perfect, and I press my cheek against his head and I breathe him in and I feel the particular rearrangement that happens the second time exactly as completely as it happened the first. "Hi," I tell him. "I am your appa. I built you a restaurant. We can talk about the rest later." Behind me, Jiwon makes a sound. Low and rough and quickly controlled. I reach back without looking and I find his hand again. He takes it. 6 weeks after Seojun comes home, on a Tuesday evening when Bada is closed and the apartment smells like Dunjang Jigi and Seolai has been bathed and is running circuits of the living room in his pajamas with Bung held aloft like a flag, Jiwon and I sit at my kitchen table across from each other with 2 cups of barley tea between us and the comfortable noise of a home that is in use all around us. He has been here every day since the birth. Not because I asked. Because I said, carefully and directly, that it would help to have another person who knew what they were doing during the 4 a.m. feeding. And he arrived the next morning with dark circles and complete readiness and has not missed a day since. I know what this is. I have known for a while. I have just been taking my time arriving at it because the arriving matters as much as the destination, and I will not be rushed through something this important. I wrap both hands around my cup. I need to say something, I tell him. He looks at me, steady and present and entirely here. I am not saying this because of Seo Jun, I say. And I am not saying it because of Seo Lai, or because you show up every day, or because you held my hand for 11 hours without complaining. I am saying it because it is true, and I have decided that true things deserve to be said out loud. He waits. He is very good at waiting now. I love you, I say, plainly, without architecture around it. I loved you 3 years ago and I love you now, and those are not the same love. The first one was younger and less certain of itself, but they are connected and they are both real, and I am not interested in pretending otherwise. The kitchen is quiet except for Seely's circuits and Seojin's small sleeping sounds from the bassinet in the corner and the distant noise of the city outside. Jiwon looks at me across the table with those dark, still eyes, and something in them is open in a way that I have been watching grow over weeks. That gradual opening of a man learning to exist without all his walls at once. And he reaches across the table and he puts his hand over mine on the cup. I have loved you, he says quietly, since the 3rd week I knew you. When you told my head chef that his knife technique was sloppy and then apologized to the knife. He pauses. I did not know what to do with it then. I handled it badly. I handled many things badly. His hand is steady over mine. I am not going to handle this badly. I look at him. No, I agree. You are not. I want to bond, he says. Direct and plain and without strategy. Not today. Not until you are ready and certain and it is what you want, not what makes sense or what is convenient. But I want you to know that is what I am here for. Not management. Not negotiation. You. I look at him for a long moment. Then I turn my hand over under his so our palms are together. I know, I say. I have known for a while. How long, he says. I consider this honestly. Since you learned that bung cannot be touched during meals, and adjusted your behavior accordingly without being asked. I pause. A man who respects a 2-year-old stuffed animal rules without commentary is a man I can work with long term. The 2mm shift in his mouth becomes something more than that. It becomes, slowly and completely, an actual smile. Not the controlled almost version. A real one, reaching all the way up, and it is the most unguarded thing I have seen on his face, and it is devastating in the best possible way. Seo Lai runs into the kitchen, skids to a stop, looks at his father's face and points. Dada happy, he announces, with the tone of someone reporting a significant news event. Yes, I tell him. Dada is happy. Seo Lai considers this, nods with satisfaction, and runs back out. The bonding happens on a Thursday evening in December, 8 weeks later. In my apartment with Mrs. O next door watching the boys and the Houston night quiet outside the window. There is no ceremony and no audience. There is only the two of us in the warm light of my kitchen. The place I built with burned hands and borrowed money and the absolute refusal to disappear. And Jiwon asking one more time, quietly and directly, are you sure? And me saying yes. Not because I am not afraid. Fear and certainty are not opposites. I am both, and I have made peace with that. I say yes because it is true, and because I built myself into someone who says true things out loud now, and I am not stopping. The bond settles between us like something that was always going to happen. Not sudden. Not violent. Warm and real, and mine in the way everything I built from nothing is mine. I press my forehead against his. I smell pine resin and cedar and rain-soaked stone, and I think about the first time that scent hit me in my dining room, and every wall I put up and every careful boundary and every Tuesday and Thursday that built, slowly and without rushing, into this. You know, I say quietly, you still owe me for that table 7 tea. I charged full price and no one ever settled the bill. He pulls back just enough to look at me. I will buy the restaurant, he says. You absolutely will not. Then I will pay for the tea. Plus service charge, I say. Plus service charge, he agrees. And I laugh. Quietly, in the warm light of my kitchen, with my sons asleep next door and this man's forehead against mine and the whole improbable, beautiful, difficult, true thing that my life has become held carefully between both of us. I thought I built Bada because the ocean does not apologize for existing, I think. But maybe I also built it because oceans do not run from their depth. They move toward it, fully and without stopping. I stayed because it was mine. All of it. Every last piece. Like, comment, subscribe and click on the notification bell. Thanks for watching.